deals. And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan open. Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Taproom Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Stacks on Stacks, lads. Joined as always with my guy, Aaron Kidd. And we got a very special guest on this evening, Adam Trigger. Probably the best handicapping name I've ever heard in my entire life. From Wager Talk. It's a pleasure to have you on. You can follow him at Twitter at TopFlightSI. Follow him. My guy is a KBO specialist, which is awesome. You can also see him on Wager Talk. You guys are on every day, right?
Yeah, no, you can catch me on Wager Talk pretty much on a daily basis. And KBO, it's been all right. Like, we were talking off air. Been a grind so far this baseball season, but I appreciate you guys having me on. I've got 2 KBO games that go in a couple hours that I love, and hopefully we can cash some tickets.
Hell yeah, man. Aaron, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Jordan. As always, pleasure being on with you. It's great having my boy Trig on. I kind of talked about him a little bit on our last show, but Trig's a great handicapper. We all know how good of a handicapper he is, but he's even a better guy and a better friend. So glad to have him on tonight, ready to chop it up with the boys.
Man, someone's cutting onions in here. Nah, man, I'm excited to have you on, man. Excited. Been looking forward to this show. How was Cancun though?
Man, Cancun was awesome. Hit Jason Day outright. Grinded that golf bet out there at the casino there. So I think I was probably the happiest man in Cancun for about 24 hours. But like Trig said, baseball's been a grind just like it is every season, but we're here for it, and we just got to keep plugging away.
Hey, as a show, we're 2-2 the last 2 weeks hitting PGA outrights. I had Brooks Koepka plus 2,400 winning the PGA Championship. So maybe we should just turn this into a golf show.
Man, we maybe should. But hey, man, baseball's always a grind. I mean, you've talked about it many times on this show. So you just got to keep plugging away, and we're here to do that. So
yeah, Adam, Aaron, and I had a great conversation 2 weeks ago. We've talked about it plenty of times on the show, but just about how MLB might be the hardest sport to handicap year round because it's just such ebbs and flows and 162 games. It's just insane. And I mean, as a guy, you had an excellent year last year, just cashing tickets left and right. Like, what is your best advice to bettors that may be new to the market about betting baseball?
Well, I mean, you guys kind of nailed it. It's definitely a grind, just in the respect that it's every single day. And I suppose college basketball is as well. I mean, or if that's just a sport I'll use as an example, because it's one of the sports I handicap. But it just college hoop season's a little bit quicker, and I don't know, it just doesn't have like baseball. I think the difference and what makes it such a grind is that you don't have like the big games, right? Like whereas like you have the college basketball season and you can kind of pinpoint spots and big games, whereas like baseball is, teams are going to play multiple times in the same series. They're going to play 6 to 7 times a week. So yeah, it's very much, like I keep kind of telling myself, and would tell anyone that's like maybe struggle up to this point or is like right around breaking even, it's May 26th, right? Like we're gonna do this until October.
Yeah.
So and that's advice too. If you are, let's say you're up a bunch of units and it's May 20, like you might want to pinch yourself and say, hey, like it's May 26th. I still have to do this for 4 more months, what have you. And it's like, there's a lot of season left. So that's kind of what I tell myself. I lost a tough one with the Cardinals, 5% play, which is our max play at Wager Talk. And I really don't veer for, I do 4 or 5% for everything. So I'm a big proponent of flat betting, as close to flat betting as possible. But, you lose a game like that, and it's like, I'll have, I'm on my way to a losing Friday so far, but I had back-to-back winning days. And it's like, okay, even if I gave back those 2 winning days, was I ready to throw myself off a bridge on Tuesday? No. Right. So even if I were to give back the last 2 days, it's just like, it sucks to take a step back. But again, it's still May, and it's like, the process is more important than the results, in my opinion. The results will work themselves out. If your process is good and you're arriving at good bets, it's typically going to work itself out. And, that's kind of the best advice I can give.
Awesome, man. I like, love that. Yeah. Aaron, Rangers.
I wasn't going to be the one to break it up for sure, Jordan, but I wanted to rub it in a little bit. Me and Jordan, as we always do every day, we texted back and forth today, and we all know he loves the Orioles, which, I'm not too far from there. So I know Camden Yards very well. I love Pickles, one of my favorite bars, right across the street from it. So I fortunately was on the Rangers tonight. Jordan unfortunately was on the Orioles, and I just thought it was when Trigg talks about situational betting and betting spots. I think college basketball has a ton of them. Even college football has a ton of them. Baseball, you're trying to locate them, and sometimes maybe we look too deep into things. But I just thought that was a perfect letdown spot coming off of what the Orioles did to the Jays and the Yankees, taking 5 out of 6 against them 2 powerhouses or traditional powerhouses. That was huge for the Orioles. So I know they were rolling out the City Connect jerseys tonight, and everybody was fighting energy. But I'm probably more of a John Gray believer than most, but man, they just came out swinging, and I think I'm ready to admit that the Rangers are going to be a little bit better than I thought they were this year.
Yeah, they've been swinging it incredibly. It's just anytime the Orioles they've just won me so much money the last year, so it's like it's just hard to fade them in any spot. I had a small wager on them today. I didn't really love this spot, and at this point, Grayson Rodriguez, they got to send that guy down to the minors and let him work through his stuff, because he's working behind in counts, basically every single count, and then he's hanging change-ups left and right. He's throwing BP out there most of the time, and it sucks because that kid has electric stuff, man, electrics. And Aaron's wearing a Diamondbacks jersey, and Brandon Pfaadt on the other side is a prime example too. Electric fastball, great swinging and miss stuff in the minors. He set the record in minor league strikeouts, and here he is in the major league level, and it's different, man. Major League Baseball is it's a lot different, and yeah, it sucks. Orioles big tomorrow though, guarantee it. Lock it up.
And Trigg can elaborate some more on this if he wants to, but me and Trigg had talked about Grayson Rodriguez a lot, and we were kind of surprised he didn't make the team coming out of spring training, and that kind of maybe says where he really was with some injuries happening, and it kind of rushed him up. But I'm like you, I don't know if he's ready to be out there night in and a couple times in the rotation. So,
well, yeah, the whole situation with him was odd, right? Because in spring, they had every intention of, as far as I understood, they had every intention of having him on the roster, and the GM went as far as to come out and talk about how disappointed they were when he didn't make the team, which is, that's probably, I probably would have figured out a different way to talk about my star prospect. Right. But so they came out, they said he's going to start the year in the minors. And then I think it was Bradish that got hurt.
Yep.
He comes up and now he's still up. And like you said, okay, so did we just forget about 1 week before when we were all right, we're going to start him in AAA. He's not ready to come up, and then they needed him, but they've kind of kept him up. It's interesting. But I don't know that I kind of agree with you. I don't think they've really done him any favors at this point, because they basically said, okay, we're not confident enough in you to put you on the opening day roster. When, as far as to use the word disappointed, a week later you're in the rotation, and now you're in the rotation and you're struggling, but you're still up with the big club. So yeah, that's something they're gonna have to figure out what they want to do with him. But it's tough. It's kind of a tough chain of events for him so far.
I mean, you look at his advanced numbers, like his xFIP is pretty good, and his Sierra is not that bad, and he does have a high K rate, over 22%. So it's like the stuff is there. It's just the control issues. Like when he can't command his fastball, it's it's nasty, dude. Like you see that every start, and like he gives up the long ball because he can't control the fastball, and they just sit on whatever is sitting over the middle of the plate. And that's the problem when you work behind in counts. It's very difficult at the major league level. You know what I mean? So I don't know how they're gonna fix it, because like you said, like the way they kind of set it up, like now you send him back down to AAA, you might mentally break the kid. That's the problem. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is about Alek Manoah too. Because I mean, we're talking about a guy who finished top 5 in AL Cy Young voting last year. And I kind of mentioned it at the tail end of last year. I was like, man, he's hella overweight, dude. Like he's not in good shape, and he kind of tailed off at the end of last year, if you don't forget. And now we're seeing him, like his mechanics are all messed up, and like he looks even more overweight than he did last year. Like, what's your guys' opinion on Alek Manoah, and like how are the Blue Jays gonna fix this? Because if Manoah's not right, I think it's devastating for the Blue Jays going forward.
Yeah, so Jordan, we've talked a couple times about Alek Manoah and his weight gain, and now you're seeing the mechanics. But his problem is he can't stop walking people. He has almost as many walks this year as he does strikeouts. He's struggled. He's getting behind in counts, and he's putting people on base. I was actually on the Tampa Bay Rays about a month ago on a Sunday. They're taking the Rays against him, and he just comes out the first inning. He automatically walks the first 2 batters.
Yep.
And then he just gets destroyed in the first inning. I think he gets out of it, and they're down 3-0. Comes back in the second inning, lead off batter in the second inning, he walks somebody, and so he just has not had any control at all. He's developed almost like I call it like a rock on the mound. You kind of see him moving a little bit, and I think it's got to do with the weight gain as well. But I don't know if it's a mental thing, if it's a weight gain or what. But he cannot keep walking people at the rate he's walking people.
I found it interesting. Something that was, kind of tossed around coming into the season, with the rule changes, that he benefited from the shift more than any other starting pitcher in the I think in all of baseball, definitely in the American League. Just to make it simple, he was one of the top pitchers that benefited from the shift. So
he had a low BABIP last year.
Right. And so you have to wonder too, like, is that like a thing in terms of like from a confidence perspective, knowing that like, so there had to be a point in time last year where he was like, okay, I know I can get a lefty to roll this over, and we've got this defensive alignment that I can get outs, right? Without the shift, he may have had to go in, and because it's not like this is news to anyone. Like this is info that was relatively, known,
right?
But it could be, Blue Jays might have went to him and been like, hey, like that's not going to work anymore. That ground ball to the, is going to between first and second is going to be a hit now. So he might have to pitch batters different. Maybe he's pressing a little bit, doesn't quite have the command to throw the pitches he's trying to now. It could be like a bunch of things, but yeah, he was someone I kind of wanted to play against and haven't as much as I should have, I feel like, at this point. But it's tough because I like that Blue Jays team a lot. So it becomes difficult to like, it's almost, for me, it becomes like, damn it, like I want to play the Jays today, but I can't because Manoah's on the mound. Not like, let me go against him and fade Manoah. That's so I've missed out because I kind of knew that this was going to happen to him. At least I thought I did.
Bro, I'm in the same boat as you because, I thought the Blue Jays were the best team coming into the year. I have a future on them to win the World Series. I have a future on them to win the AL. And here
so do I.
And I'm like, dude, this is not good. Like, at this point, I think the Orioles are a better team. I think the Rays are a better team. The Yankees are probably a better team, and I think the Yankees stink. Sorry, Aaron. But man, it's tough to just wrap your head around, man.
It's tough to wrap your head around a guy that's kind of been dominating. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at his stats for his first 2 years in the league: a 3.2 K to walk ratio, 3.5 last year K to walk ratio, and he's barely got a 1 K to rate walk. I mean, he's walking people as many times as he's striking people out. I just never thought I'd be saying that about Alek Manoah.
Never. And like even Gaussman, he's been he had a good outing today, but he's been a little up and down too. It's whew, Jays better figure it out because it relies on it. All right, Adam, you got you got a little KBO action going on. It's gonna get off here in about an hour and a half. What's the first play? Because you're big on KBO. Aaron's kind of put me on to KBO. I've been watching a lot more of it this year because of him, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a tough watch sometimes, but you know it's baseball and it's on, and so first of all, I want to ask you, how did you get into KBO?
So I got into KBO the way most people probably did. 2020 pandemic hits, and all of a sudden, in the business I'm in, right? Like that's kind of my livelihood. Suddenly there's no sports. So as a pick seller and like, someone that is essentially that's for a living. And then there's no sports. I had to sort of figure out, what to do. And the KBO obviously well known at this point that they were the first sort of professional league to come back. But for me, like my thing was, okay, like ESPN's going to televise these games. I spent I would say 2 to 3 weeks familiarizing myself with the league. And basically as soon as that announcement was made, back in 2020, I think maybe 10 days before the KBO season was ready to kick off, ESPN said they're going to televise one game every single day. And I was like, all right, people are going to go nuts for this. And also people are going to try to bet it with absolutely no clue what they're doing, because it's just, I mean, we were betting on ping pong, right? Like, remember, just the nonsense
I was betting on Madden simulations, dude.
You're right. I know, right?
We were Call of Duty. What is it? CSGO.
Yeah. So I started to look into the league, and I'm like, you know what? These are I know a lot of these players, right? Like there's Korean born players that played in the majors at one point that are back there. There's 3 foreign players on each team, and the term foreign is just they're non-Korean born, right? So typically they're 3 ex big leaguers that fizzled out at some point and maybe are going back over to Korea to try to, resurrect their career. And I started to look at this and say, okay, I kind of have some angles here. And then just tried to find as much info about the league as I possibly could, went back and watched some of the 2019 season, the playoffs and whatnot. And then gave all of my info out for free on Twitter. And so it sort of helped me, grow my Twitter following. And I suddenly became one of the couple people on Twitter that was people were turning to for info about the league. And I just decided that when all the regular sports came back, I was like, you know what? I kind of like this. I wake up early anyway. So it's way tougher for you out on the West Coast. On the East Coast, we get 5:30 a.m. games, and it's that's when I want to start my day anyway. So it's just sort of fits into my lifestyle. And I love waking up and having the games on at 5:30 a.m. It's a great way to start today. So I just enjoy it, and I've had an edge. I've been profitable every single year, 2020 included. So 3 straight winning years. I hope this is a 4th straight winning year, and it's if you can still scratch out a profit doing it, I'm going to keep doing it. And the books actually take I joke with Aaron, I'd love to bet minor league baseball, but it's hard to get down on minor league baseball games. That's why I really don't, it's not worth my time. But Korean baseball, you can get a respectable bet down at FanDuel and some of these other places. So as long as they're going to let us bet it and bet it kind of big, then I'm going to keep doing it. It's just going to be my thing.
Must be nice to not live in Vegas.
Yeah.
Because Vegas books don't take action on college baseball. They don't take action on minor league
Westgate
baseball.
will. Westgate will take KBO. I
Do they?
know John's got KBO up there at the Westgate.
Okay.
So
I haven't checked over there. I gotta go check. I opened up a offshore account just to bet KBO when Aaron started talking about it. So on the weekends though, it's nice on the West Coast because like we get games at like
sure.
midnight, 1 a.m. So and
Oh,
I'm a night owl, so I'm the opposite of you. You wake up early, I wake up late. I go to sleep late. So nice man.
See, I'm in the middle of both you guys because I'm unfortunately both of those. So I just don't ever sleep.
I like it. All right, so Adam, what's the first KBO play you got down for this morning / night, depending on where you are?
Yeah, so just to just to clear it up with like the time, usually the time for these games is a little different than the normal Saturday time. So we're going 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific for all the KBO games, which would be, I guess, tonight or
they're
tomorrow.
all on at the same time?
Yes. So
wow.
Typically this league, there's 10 teams, and typically all 5 games are simultaneous. And that's how it's going to be here. So 10 p.m. Pacific, essentially 90 minutes from now, wherever you are, 90 minutes from now, these games are all going to be on. So I'm going to start with, there's going to be some rain in Korea tomorrow. One of my plays might get rained out. We'll talk about that one at the end of the show. I'm going to give you the one right now that I'm pretty confident the weather's going to hold up. So it's going to be the LG Twins and the Kia Tigers. And for me here, this is pretty much just a spot matchup sort of situation that I really love for the Kia Tigers. So no question, LG Twins are probably the better team. Like if you're talking long term, if you want, I'll put it into like my power rating standpoint. Like I knocked LG off the top line. I have a team named the SSG Landers as the number 1 team right now. But I would make LG the second best team in this league, and I've had them up near the top all year. But in this situation, I'm willing to play against them for a couple of reasons. One, their bullpen, which has been as good as of a bullpen as you'll find in this league for the past few years, has started to sort of take a hit to its depth. They've essentially been out without their closer for the last month, and they've had other injuries in the bullpen where I've had to like sort of downgrade their bullpen a little bit. On the flip side, the Kia Tigers have actually had, for them to have played as well as they have to this point, knowing that they've been without like 2 or 3 starters for the majority of the season, is actually really impressive. It makes me think Kia going forward from this point is probably like a good play on team. But I'll just work backward here and we'll address the Kia bullpen. So Kia had a horrible bullpen last year, one of the worst in the league, but they've really like remade their pen through youth. They've got a couple young studs down there that are awesome and sort of anchoring their bullpen. And suddenly their 3.46 bullpen ERA is the second best mark in the league. So, it's something that's really impressed me with this Kia Tigers team. And when I'm looking at this game, I said, normally LG is like always has the better bullpen in most of these matchups. In this matchup, I don't think that's the case. I actually think I prefer Kia's bullpen here, especially because yesterday they were kind of like out of the game early and they were able to just like rest all of their bullpen guys. So not only do they have this right now, the stronger bullpen, but I think all of their guys are nice and fresh for this game. If we look at the starters, so you may actually recognize Kia Tigers starters, Hyunjong Yang. He spent an entire season with the Texas Rangers, 2021. He was only over here for 1 year, but this guy is like a legend in Korea. Like he's a top-notch Korean-born player. He's been a superstar over there for years. He's 35 years old now. I actually thought we were going to see him decline when he came back from MLB because he only came over here for a year. He did okay. I think the Rangers maybe sent him back to AAA at one point, and he said, all right, I'm going to go back and, finish my career in Korea. But he's off to a phenomenal start, 2.03 ERA, 1.29 whip, and he looks as good as he's looked in years right now, for the Kia Tigers. So he's a southpaw. He's a left-handed pitcher. And LG Twins, as good as their lineup is, a lot of those bats are left-handed. So I think he could have a really strong matchup against LG just because he's been pitching extremely well. And a veteran like him, I don't think it's like something that's going to go away overnight. This would be the equivalent of like an Adam Wainwright like a year ago, like having a resurgence, and you're like, okay, like, this guy can still pitch. We've seen him do it like most of his career, or Verlander or something like that.
Kershaw.
That would be the equivalent of Yang pitching well at this age in this league, in my opinion. And then on the LG side, you have a young kid, 23 years old, Young-Sik Kim, broke out last year, had a great season. He's still having a pretty good season this year, but he puts too many guys on base. Like the whip right now, 1.54 is a little bit concerning to me. And the Kia Tigers hit left-handed pitching. And so my theory here is if he's going to put guys on base at the rate he's been putting them on base, Kia, even without some of their, big names that have missed most of the year, they're still third in batting average. And if there's traffic on the bases, they do hit lefties, and they'll slap left-handed pitching around. A lot of good right-handed bats in the lineup. Socrates Brito is on the Kia Tigers. He's a name you may remember from his time with the Diamondbacks. One of the better hitters in KBO right now, especially, he's pretty much can hit anything, right-handed, left-hand, doesn't matter. But this is a great matchup here. Kia has lost back-to-back games, so they're going to feel a little bit of a sense of urgency, in my opinion. And I just think this is a really good spot for them to hit a left-handed pitcher that I think they can hit. And you're getting a great price. This was plus 105 earlier today. You could still probably find it at even money. Kia is at home here. I just all the boxes, sort of check in the favor of Kia. So Kia Tigers plus 105, even money, whatever you can find it at, I think it's a 4% play for me at Wager Talk, which is my standard bet. And I think it's a really good bet.
Love it, man. I'm seeing minus 106, minus 105.
Yeah, I would take it up to minus. Well, I really would take this up to minus 110, minus 115.
Like a pig.
Anything that's like without you laying substantial juice, I think is a good bet.
Nice. I like it. Thanks for that insight, Adam. Appreciate that as always. That was very knowledgeable. I do have to ask you a question about KBO though, real quick. Addison Russell. Why is he not the best player in the KBO? That kid should be the best player.
So interesting. I actually had a conversation about this with a friend of mine, who I do a show on Twitter weekly with. His name's Freddie, as good of a KBO mind as there is out there. And he was, we were talking about this, and he mentioned Addison Russell might be battling through a little bit of an injury right now. Has kind of like dealt with a back injury. Now, he came out the gate this year red hot.
Yeah, he was hot.
He was hitting 330, hitting with power, which is something that, I think his last go around in KBO, he really didn't have much pop and whatnot, but he was crushing balls, hitting home runs, and suddenly he's just not having great at bats. I think he's playing hurt. So it's something to monitor, because if he gets healthy, the Kiwoom Heroes, which is the team that he's on, you can upgrade them significantly if he's hitting the ball in the ballpark.
They're usually one of the better teams too, right? In KBO.
Yeah. And they probably should be this year. If you look at their pitching, it's elite as far as this league is concerned. They have a player by the name of Jung Ho Lee, who will be in Major League Baseball, I think, as early as next year. As soon as he's fulfilled his eligibility in Korea, he'll be on a Major League Baseball team. So
maybe they
should be a lot better than they are. Yeah, Kiwoom should be a lot better than they are. Go ahead.
True, for the people that don't know, what you meant about there, kind of ties to Korea. You want to explain that a little bit? How long they have to stay over there before they can come over here to fulfill their commitments?
So very similar to Japan. The team has the rights essentially to a player for 7 years. So a great example is Ji-hwan Bae, Pittsburgh Pirates, second infielder right now.
He's good.
He's a great player. He's Korean born, but he came over here at age 18. So he never played in KBO. And the reason is he knew he was good enough to play Major League Baseball without having to play in Korea for 7 years, right? Like, so if they're that good, that young, the other prime example would be Shin-Soo Choo, sort of legendary all-star. He's back in Korea now on a team we'll talk about in a little bit. He did the same thing, came right over as a 18-year-old, got drafted by a team, and he never played in KBO until later in his career. Because if it, and I don't love the rule, but it's just like, it is what it is, that they have you for 7 years. So Ha-Sung Kim, who's now on the San Diego Padres, is a good example of someone that
He'll be back
played his
KBO
7 years.
soon.
Yeah, he played his 7 years, and then at the end of 7 years, that there was interest from MLB teams, and then they go over to an MLB team.
Ha-Sung Kim and Ji-Man Choi are both going to be in the KBO
Yep.
soon. Very soon. Man, G-Man Choi cost me so much coin last year. I can't stand that dude, bro. He'd have bases loaded, he'd pop out every time, dude. Oh my god. I love it though.
We need to send Trent Grisham over there too if we're sending Padres over there. That's another one.
It'll be interesting. Do you think Addison Russell ever has a chance of making it back to the majors, or do you think it's cooked?
I doubt it. I don't know. At this point, I
know it's deeper than production.
I think he's just too old. I don't see. I don't know. I guess I just don't see where he fits in with like a big league club. And let's be honest, like, I think if he was a good dude, he might have a better chance.
Yeah.
But who like wants to deal with that? You know, I mean, that's like so my short answer is just like, probably not. I don't think we'll ever see him in Major League Baseball again.
For full transparency, Adam, I'm a diehard A's fan. All right.
Okay.
Grew up idolizing the A's, and Addison Russell. Obviously, we traded him for Samardzija. That didn't work out. Didn't work out for us. He goes on to win a World Series. I'm telling you right now, he'd probably be our starting shortstop on the A's right now.
I like that kid. That kid that they've been playing at short can pick it though.
Nick Allen, but he can't hit over 150, dude. That's the problem. It's bad. I watched him play in Vegas because the AAA team's out here in Vegas, and he was like raking because he played in the Olympics that year in 2021, and he like raked in the Olympics, and then he like just flew up from there. Like, he was supposed to be in AA, they threw him up in AAA, and like, he has a good glove. It's tough being an A's fan. Hopefully they get to Vegas soon. It's brutal. That's why I'm an honorary Orioles fan now. I took a business trip out to Baltimore and became an Orioles fan in one weekend. So that's my Orioles story. Anyways, let's move on to some Major League Baseball. We got a couple of games we're gonna break down and talk about and kind of go back and forth. For full transparency, we haven't looked at these games yet, so we're kind of gonna be just bouncing ideas off of each other. Round table, maybe getting some bets out of these games. Who knows? First game we got is a pick'em game. We got the Toronto Blue Jays against the Minnesota Twins. We got Chris Bassett going face to face against Pablo Lopez. Chris Bassett 5-3 on the year. Pablo Lopez 2-3. Chris Bassett 3.03 ERA, 1.04 WHIP. And for those that are unaware, Chris Bassett has actually been the best pitcher in the American League since his first 2 starts. He has less than a 1 ERA in that span. Pablo Lopez on the year, 3.9 ERA, 1.10 WHIP. Totals at 8. Aaron, do you have any thoughts on this game just right off the bat?
Well, Chris Bassett, I think he's finally healthy now. And like you said, he's been pitching pretty good. The Blue Jays, they had an emotional series sweep of the Braves, and everybody's like hopping on the wagon. Okay, Blue Jays were going to take off now. And they won tonight, but they've lost 9 out of 12 now. Just can't really hit the ball with runners in scoring position. The Blue Jays have been very frustrating this year, and they can't just get the hit, and I'm not exactly in a rush to play the Blue Jays. On the flip side of that, I'm definitely not in a rush to fade them either. But, if you take out that 20-game just explosion they had against the Rays the other night, they've scored 35 runs in their last 11 games if you take that out. So until they can start hitting the ball again and showing me they can hit the ball, I'm definitely not, hopping on the bandwagon. But I do think they eventually figure it out. and I still do believe I think they're one of the better teams in the American League. The Twins, on the other hand, if anybody could read our group text chat, you'll know how much how me and Drake just don't believe in this Twins team at all.
Why is that?
They've been finding, they've got some good pitching. They still struggle to hit the ball some too, though. I'm not as high on Pablo Lopez, I guess, as a lot of people. He's kind of had a better May, similar to Chris Bassett. But once again, I'm just not, Buxton can never stay healthy. It feels like he's always an MVP candidate. Then he gets hurt and he ends up only playing 90 games. And, man, I just want the Blue Jays to start hitting the ball again.
But why?
Well,
go ahead.
So for me, and this is something I've been talking about since early in the season, for the Twins. So coming into the year, I thought the trade to bring Lopez over, obviously they get a top-notch starter that's great, but to give up a Rise, who is basically the best hitter in the American League, or he's won a batting title. In my opinion, I thought that would really hurt their lineup, and I think it has. And the more I sort of evaluate this lineup, it's essentially Buxton, Correa, and a sort of a mix of players that I don't really expect to be this like a great lineup, right? Like I just don't. And this is coming into the season. I said, all right, you got Correa, you got Buxton. Outside of that, like, what do you really have up and down this lineup? Now,
well, they need to
Correa's dealing with a foot injury. Buxton's been great. Let's give credit where credit's due. He's been awesome so far. Like, he's got like some ridiculous stretch of games. He's on base every single game. He's been really good. But Gallo's been hurt, and if you look at the Twins' success, so now, I mean, they're still over 500. It's not by much. I believe after tonight, they're a game over 500. But man, without their starting pitching, at being as good as it's been, they would absolutely be a sub 500 team. And then you look back, like, go a couple weeks back, like Tyler Mahle was great. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
The person, Varland, who started tonight, kind of took his rotation, place, at least for now, which I view as a downgrade. So, it's just the Twins just have enough red flags for me to think that like they're probably a play against, because they get priced like a top team. Like that's the kicker here, right? Like they get priced like a top team, like this like probable division winner type team, and I just don't think they're that. So in this game, I probably could only play the Blue Jays, because I'm kind of on board with AK. I feel like we're going to get our Blue Jays resurgence at some point. At some point, they're going to hit with runners in scoring position and start cashing in those runs, and it's gonna turn into some Blue Jays wins.
So I hear what you guys are saying, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I am going to push back a little bit in the sense that, like, as a team, you're only as good as your pitching is, right? And they not only have a great starting rotation, Pablo Lopez, 30% K rate, 3.3 xFIP. Like, he's had a little bit of bad luck. He's going to have some positive regression at some point. Joe Ryan's been great. They got
Sonny Gray.
Yeah, Sonny Gray's been great. Sonny Gray's biggest problem is he just can't go deep into games. You're lucky to get 5 2/3 out of him. But they're back into their bullpen. Julio Duran and oh my God, his name's Jorge Lopez, former closer of the Orioles. How could I forget? I mean, they got a solid back end of the bullpen. Where the Twins' issue is that middle part of their bullpen. It's just so bad, dude. Like, if you throw Emilio Pagan out there, dude, it's like it's over, dude. Like, he's given up at least 1 or 2 runs. And the Twins don't score. Like, they can't hit. They're a home run or they're nothing. They're all or nothing. That's the type of team they are. They're like the modern baseball team. So in the sense that you guys are saying, like, I do agree that they're hard to back because of that, because you never know what you're going to get offensively from them. But I feel like the Twins, they're such a streaky team. It's like, when they start going offensively, they go for like 7 days, and then they kind of cool off, and then they go and then they cool off. Now in this spot with Bassett, Bassett on the other hand, not a high K rate pitcher, more to contact. The Twins do have a pretty high K percentage, which benefits Chris Bassett in that aspect. And I do think the Blue Jays gotta start hitting at some point, dude. At some point, Bichette got to start hitting. Vlad's got to start hitting for sure. I mean, this guy is not as bad as he's been this year. So I do agree in that sense. I think it is Blue Jays or kind of lay off at this price here.
Yeah, it's not the well. AK. I'll kick it to you in a second, but I want to say, like, it's just to make talk on some of your points. Like, the Twins are going to have their better relievers for this game, and Lopez will probably give them some depth. So this might not be the spot to go against the Twins, but just kick it over to AK, see what he has to say there.
Yeah, and to you all's point about the Twins, if you take out that 7-1 win against the Giants over there, you have to go 10 games back the last time they scored over 3 runs in a game. That's unbelievable. But something to Trig's point, I was going to say, something else that's hard to trust the Blue Jays right now is their bullpen, man. It's not been good this year.
Nope. Especially on the road.
At all.
Especially on the road. Yeah.
And their bullpen is very hard to trust right now.
It was funny the other night in the Orioles game, Dave Pash, he's the play-by-play guy for the Blue Jays. He's like, yeah, Jordan Romano hasn't given up a run all year at home, and boom, next play, Ryan O'Hearn 3-run blast. Very next pitch. Yeah, I mean the Blue Jays bullpen, that was their weakness last year too, if you don't remember. And they went out in the deadline and they got some like mid-type relievers, and they go out and they trade Teoscar Hernandez for Sewald this year, and they get him or Swanson. They get him, which solidifies that 8th inning. But Jordan Romano is like one of the few closers. Like I can't trust. There's like 4 closers I trust in baseball right now: Felix Bautista, and Felix Bautista, and Josh Hader. I'll throw Josh Hader in there. But I mean, it's just
unless you were on Sunday Night Baseball, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many bad closers right now in baseball. Even Emmanuel Clase. I mean, I tweeted out the other day, he had 5 blown saves all of last year. He's had more than 5 blown saves already this year. Like,
didn't blow one tonight.
Almost, he should have blown one.
Could use him to blow one tonight.
He should have. He should have blown one tonight. He got lucky. He got let off the hook. But man, it's I do think in that aspect, maybe looking at Toronto first 5 might be the play. First 5.
Yeah. Well, now I'm looking at your point with the bullpen. Today, so the Blue Jays close out a 3-1 win. Swanson 26 pitches, Miza 14 pitches, Pearson 20 pitches, Romano 20 pitches. So they used 4 relievers today because Gossman only gave him 5 innings essentially, 3 of which threw 20 pitches, and I would say at least Swanson, Romano, and even Pearson, those could be considered like 3 of their better relievers at this point. So yeah, the Blue Jays might not be in the best spot to knock off Lopez tomorrow. Like, and then like you were saying, the Twins, when they've got their high leverage guys, they're good guys. They're tough nut to crack there. So interesting game.
Who were the relievers for Minnesota tonight?
So Minnesota used they used Pagan for 2 innings, so you're whatever, like you'll live with that. And then De Leon through the 9th, which is not.
And they had Thursday off too, so like they're pretty well rested. So they definitely have Lopez tomorrow, and they have Yohan Duran, which is their 2 best relievers. Yep. I mean, as a Twins, if you're backing the Twins, you just gotta pray that Griffin Jax does not see the mound, dude. If he sees the mound, you just gotta buckle up, man. I think if you're looking at this game, I think you gotta look maybe first 5 under with Pablo and Bassett on the mound. But I do think I just have this feeling Bassett is due for like some negative regression, because he went like almost 30 innings without giving up a run. He gave up 2 earned his last start to the best AL team in the league, by the way. Baltimore Orioles. But I mean, if you had to make a play on this game, what would you guys think here?
It's tough. I'm starting to lean toward the Twins, even though they've kind of been a season long fade for me. It just feels like a good spot for the Twins but I don't think I could actually get to the window with it just because I don't know that I want to fade the Jays right now when I think they might be in like uptick mode. So it's that might be what keeps me off there. But it's just the more we talk about it, the better it seems like it's shaping up for the Twins tomorrow.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree too, Jordan. If you were looking to get on the Blue Jays, though, maybe in the first five, you think Bassett comes out, gives you a solid 5 innings, and maybe Blue Jays get a couple hits off of Lopez, get somebody around the bases. So probably be a no play for me.
Like it. I'm kind of in agreement. So I think I lean Toronto first five, Minnesota full game. I think the total is a little out of play because we don't know who we're going to get on the back end of the Blue Jays bullpen. And if we get that dude that complains about popcorn on the airplane, he's going to give up a ton of runs. So that's just the total is out of, unless you play first five under, I think that might be a solid play there. But outside of that, I think the total is out of play as well. All right, let's move on to the second game. We got the Tampa Bay Rays hosting the LA Dodgers. The Rays won today. I think it was 7-3 was the final score. I haven't looked since we got on there. I think that game was still going on. Oh, 9-3. Yeah, Noah Syndergaard special. There we go. We got Kershaw on the bump. He's 6-4 on the year, 2.98 ERA, 1.10 WHIP, and we got the debut from Tyler Glasnow for the season. I know Aaron loves these spots here. Tampa Bay minus 115 favorite. Dodgers minus 105. Total 8. Obviously, every book's gonna vary. I'm basically going off consensus of a few books. So, Aaron, it's your favorite spot here. I already know which way you're leaning here.
Yeah, the Dodgers have been a tough team to kind of figure out this year too. They've struggled a little bit on the road, 14 on the road. Kershaw's splits have just been wildly, just wild, very tough on the road. He's pitched very pretty good at home. He's kind of struggled a little bit in May after a pretty good start into the season, but man, the Rays have been almost unbeatable at home. 25-5 at home to start the season. So 27-10 after a win too. So they don't let up after they've got you down. But as you said, I love these spots when you got a pitcher that hasn't pitched. He hasn't pitched at the Trop in almost 2 years. In a week, it'll be 2 years since he last threw a pitch at the Trop. You just never know what you're going to get with him. But man, I just don't know if I could get in front of the Rays right now. It is very tough. I know we were looking to get in front of them some at the beginning of the season, but them at home right now, that's very hard to jump in front of. So I think if I had to get to the window here, I would look to probably play the Rays, even though it's a spot I know I hate backing pitchers. In their first game back, you just never know what you're going to get, and normally you get the result you don't want to get if you're backing them. So it'll probably be something I wouldn't personally get to the window, but man, it's hard to get in front of a team that's 25-5 at home.
Adam?
Yeah, I agree with basically everything AK said there. I think I lean Dodgers just because it's the uncertainty with Glasnow, the fact that he's probably not going to go particularly deep, but I like.
And they had a bullpen game today.
Say that again.
They had a bullpen game today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I kind of lean. I admittedly, I didn't play it, and it wasn't like anywhere near my card or whatever. But I lean Dodgers today, and they get killed. What'd you say the final was in that game? Was it 9-3?
Yeah.
So, I guess tomorrow, like, that's a tough one. I can almost guarantee you I will be nowhere near that game either. I'll probably be watching as a fan. It'll be fun to see Glasnow back on a big league mound. But I'm going to probably need to see a start or two before I really want to get involved, with one of those games. So I just like the slightest of leans toward the Dodgers, just because I just don't think you're going to get like a 7-inning jet. I mean, he's probably on a pitch. I don't know what kind of the pitch count he's on. Would have to go back and look at his starts at Durham the past couple weeks, but if I still think the Dodgers could potentially knock him around. Their hard hit rate's really solid. So slightest lean toward the Dodgers for me.
I got to play in this game. I got one. Over 8 on the total. Dodgers rake righties. Rake them. 212 ISO, which is second in Major League Baseball. And the Rays, 276 ISO, 164 WRC plusing his left-handed pitching. Kershaw, as AK mentioned, doesn't pitch well on the road. Glass now, we have no idea what he's going to give you. Obviously, he's been in the minor leagues. Now he's got to face a major league lineup who happens to rake right-handed pitching. The Dodgers bullpen, because of injuries, is absolutely atrocious. I mean...
Yeah, they haven't been good all year.
Yeah.
They haven't been good all year.
But we'll be honest, it's because of injuries. They have a ton of injuries. Yeah. And Kershaw hasn't gone deep into games all year, so we know we're going to get into the bullpen probably early on, right? They scored 12 runs today. And the Rays bullpen, they had a bullpen game today. So I think they have Jason Adam, who's going to be available tomorrow, but Jason Adam has not been good this year. He has not been the same Jason Adam as we're used to seeing. So I love the over 8 here. I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in this game. I don't necessarily love a side because, as you said, the Rays are 25-5 at home. I'm not really ready to step in front of that. And, the Dodgers are... They win 75% of their games after losses this year, so I don't really want to fade the Dodgers coming off a loss. So I think I like the over in this game. I think it's a good over spot. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. It's tough to disagree with that. I can almost guarantee I won't have a penny on this game, but I am excited to watch.
Well, I don't know if you want to follow your boy. I honestly, I had no play. And then as you guys were talking, I was looking at this and I was like, I'm actually talking myself into the over here. And that's usually when I do my best work, other than the Cardinals today. Talked myself into the card. I made a TikTok about it and everything about why I like the Cardinals so much. And, that worked out well. All right.
Let's go, y'all.
Let's get some best bets for tomorrow. So, Adam, you got your second KBO play, which is going to go off in less than an hour here. Let's get it. You get the music too for this one.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out there. Say that one more time.
I said you get the music for this one too.
All right. There we go. Yeah. So
this has to be a winner, dude. It has to be a winner.
Same time. This is going to be 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific. So about 55 minutes from now. Hopefully this one gets in. There's some rain in Seoul where this game is going to be played. So hopefully this one gets in. I like the SSG Landers. You're looking at laying like minus 130 or so here. I have SSG power rated number 1 in the KBO right now. I think that they are probably the best team in the league. They are second in the standings, but I would put them first in terms of a power rating. And they have a name that you will remember on the mound here in Kwang Hyun Kim, former St. Louis Cardinal. He is now back in Korea. And interesting thing with him is, so last year he comes back to Korea. He's absolutely dominant. 2.13 ERA, 1.07 WHIP. Just to the point where toward the end of the year, it looked like he was just like losing interest because he was that good. Leads the SSG Landers to a title. They win the Korean series, which is their version of the World Series. His numbers haven't been as good this year, but it's also because he was injured early in the season. So, you look at his numbers right now, 3.48 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. I feel like he's gotten like downgraded by the books, but I also think that the books maybe don't understand that he was pitching through an injury for like the first month of the year. He's looked really good in his last 2 starts. And here he gets a Doosan team that's really burned up bullpen arms this week. They've had a couple starters out, the Doosan Bears have, so they've really compromised their bullpen this week. Even though some of their top arms didn't throw yesterday, they had like a stretch where they were using like 2-3 key bullpen guys it pretty much all week to this point. So I think you would end up with a big time advantage in the later innings here with SSG, because SSG has by far the top bullpen in this league. It's a sub-3 team ERA for the SSG Landers bullpen. So not only are you going to get a big advantage late in the game, you have Kwang Hyun Kim up against Woon Jun Choi, who's a very good starter in his own respect for Doosan, but he's just not quite at the caliber of Kwang Hyun Kim, in my opinion. So I give SSG the nod to the bullpen. I'll take Kwang Hyun Kim over Woon Jun Choi. And, the SSG lineup, they lead the league in home runs by a mile. They've got 40 total so far this year. It's like 10 ahead of the next team. And if I was to put, one, one knock on Choi, Doosan starter, he doesn't strike many guys out. He relies on contact and fly ball outs. And SSG is going to make you pay in that regard. And I think they might make him pay here. I referenced the bullpen. Doosan's 5.06 bullpen ERA is 9th out of 10 teams. And just SSG is just an all-around better team. So if you're going to give me the all-around better team, Kwang Hyun Kim, who in my opinion is the better pitcher, and a far superior bullpen, I think minus 130 is more than fair. And even if you lay minus 140, which is I think where it is now, I still think that's a great bet. So
minus
SSG Landers
minus 150.
Yeah, shop around. I mean, some of these offshore sites will juice it up a little bit. Make sure you check all your books. I would say though, right now you're probably going to see in the minus 140, minus 150 range, and that move to minus 150, Jordan, is probably because Yu-Ji Yang, Doosan starting catcher and one of the best hitters in the KBO, is likely out again. He's been nursing an injury. He didn't play yesterday. And I can almost guarantee if this is up around minus 150, he's probably out again today. And that is a very, very big loss for that Doosan team. He's essentially the Yadier Molina of that league, where he's a veteran. He just is still nasty for no reason at like 38. He's catching games or whatever age he is. It's like, Yadier Molina, he's behind the plate, catching at some, at the end of his career, he still rakes. And to have him not, out of the lineup, not only hurts the lineup, but it hurts the starting pitcher because he's a veteran catcher that understands how to handle the pitching staff. So that's probably
everything the Cardinals don't have now.
Yeah, exactly. So SSG Landers, I would take it all the way up to minus 150. I think it's a very strong bet.
I like it. SSG Landers up to minus 150. I love it. Hey, speaking of which, so Kia versus LG, which is your first bet. We got cars versus refrigerators, right?
So the way it works in Korea is that the name of the team is not the city it's in. So, like, for example, Kia is in Guangzhou,
right?
LG is in Seoul, but they don't reference the city names. It's the sponsor that like owns the team. So it's like Kia is the sponsor. So Kia Tigers. LG is like they own the team. Like it's the main sort of sponsor. LG Twins. And you'll see them change sometimes. Like Kiwoom is relatively new. They used to be Nexen. So it was a company called Nexen. It used to be the Nexen Heroes. Now it's the Kiwoom Heroes. I think Hyundai had a team at one point. So they do change. The SSG Landers, for example, 2 years ago were the SK Wyverns. It was a company. SK was a company. I don't know exactly what they do. But they ended up changing sponsors. They became the SSG Landers. So it's just an interesting
Interesting.
sort of wrinkle. Yeah.
When Aaron got me onto the KBO, I started like researching a little bit. And I'm like, man, a lot of these companies are in Seoul. Like, why is there no Seoul dynos or anything? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what the heck? So all these fans are like, they're fans of capitalism and it's company. It's like a company softball team, but everybody goes out and they support it. I'm not.
I will say too, there are no fans like KBO fans.
Yeah, they get
Those
crazy.
guys girls are rowdy, they're loud, and I love every second of it.
They get crazy, man. It is I mean the style of baseball, Aaron. We talked about it. It's like, minor league baseball. It's not the greatest, but it's baseball, man. It's good to watch. All right, Aaron, what's your best bet?
Yeah, man. So I'm going to take it out. San Francisco Giants versus Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers shut out the Astros twice, beat them in pretty dominating fashion after they got throttled by them in the first game of the series. They turn around here and they get smacked by the Giants the last 2 days. Ironically, the first Astros game where they got knocked around, Corbin Burns that was his last start. He'll take the mound tomorrow. I know everyone's quick to say that he's having a down year, but if you take a closer look, he's been okay. He's had an expected ERA of 3.9, which is right in line with his ERA. So I think you really can take him in more of a face value now. What you see is what you get with him. More than the dominating ace. You play him every time he's on the mound. How we've been playing the last couple of years. He's won 5 of his last 7 starts before he got knocked around by the Astros and the Cardinals. And he's still got a 1.22 whip. And I think his struggles, if you want to call it struggles, are baked in this number. On the other side, Trigg mentioned earlier about Manoah struggling with the shift. Another pitcher that struggled a little bit is Logan Webb, with that being taken away. But I think he's in the same boat as Burns. He had a great year last year. He comes in this year with a world of expectations on him. He still only has a 1.11 whip. But what does jump out to me, if you look at his expected ERA versus his true ERA, almost 0.75 higher. So it feels like he's got the negative regression coming. Especially when you look at 2 of his starts of this year have been against the Marlins and 1 of his starts against the Nationals, 2 teams who we've talked about on the show all year that struggle to hit the ball some. And something else that jumps out to me with Logan Webb, he's second to dead last in run support of pitchers that have 10 or more starts this year. He's only getting 2.3 runs per start. That's second to dead last, and you have to go to look at the next guy in line at almost a 0.5 higher run support. Talking about the Blue Jays, the Brewers have kind of been the same way. They struggle to hit the ball lately with runners in scored position, but just as I expect the Blue Jays, I expect the Brewers to start turning that around. Christian Yelich has had a hell of a year, and the beautiful thing about this is with them getting throttled, they haven't had to use who I think is one of the best relievers in the game at Devin Williams. So he's definitely going to be available tomorrow. The Brewers are 12-5 this year as a home favorite and 12-10 off a loss. They play much better at home. They boast the league's 6th best record at home. And at some point, you've got to think in the back of their mind, they know the Pirates are 2 games behind them, and they know the Cardinals are heating up, and the Cardinals are coming for them. So I think you get a max effort from the Brewers tomorrow in a desperation spot. And so give me the Brewers minus 112 as my best bet to avoid the sweep at home.
Damn, that's a bold play there, Aaron. You're out here talking about like the Brewers aren't a bad offensive team.
Yeah, man, I think the Brewers are going to avoid the sweep. Logan Webb, he just hasn't put it together yet this year. And I'm still not necessarily a believer in the Giants. I know the Giants are sitting there. They've been hitting the ball some, but at some point they're going to go back to being the Giants too.
Aaron, Logan Webb's way better this year than he was last year. I mean, 3.14 Sierra, 2.84 ERA. I mean, his expected ERA might be a little worse, but I mean, his Sierra, his xFIP, pretty much around the same. He just doesn't get run support. So I mean, fading him isn't a bad idea because you know they're only going to give him 1 run.
When I started diving into that just jumped out at me that no, they do not hit for them. His last start they lose 1-0 to the Marlins.
Aaron, the Giants rake righties though. They raked Freddie Peralta today. I mean, given how much they just scored, I guarantee there's some definite regression in the bats for sure. I don't hate your play. Actually, I actually like it given the fact that the Giants blew them out. But every time I go against Aaron, by the way, Adam, I always lose. So it's
He knows what he's doing. I agree with him. I'm not high in the Giants one bit, so I have no problem with a Brewers play here.
dude, the Brewers are
I
just
think
so hard to back. They're just so bad. Their bats are. I mean, it's up there with the worst in the league. It's like betting the Guardians, dude. And I love the Guardians, man. The Guardians, one of my teams, but that team is they're so bad.
I was talking about it with some of the wager talk guys yesterday. I think they need to trade Shane Bieber and try to turn him into a couple of like ready now bats to put into that lineup. Even if it's guys at the back end of the line, even if you get like a 6 and a 7 hitter that are actually productive, I think it could like make that whole, because it's not like everyone in the lineup can't hit. Like they've got guys that can hit, but it's they just
Adam, I'll give you the perfect trade
yeah.
scenario right here. Shane Bieber for Grayson Rodriguez and Heston Kjerstad.
Oh, see, I almost think that the Guardians would not worry about getting a pitcher in return because they've got tons of pitching at AAA.
They do,
and
but
they got McKenzie's going to come back.
Yeah, McKenzie's struggling out there in his rehab starts. By the way,
but they have tons of pitching at like they have 7 or like 7 guys that could potentially start at the big league level. So why not go out? Get multiple bats. Like
Shane Bieber for Heston Kjerstad and let's throw the next 2 or 3 top Orioles hitting prospects out there, not named Jackson Holiday or Colton Cowser.
Oh, see, I actually think I would not be surprised if they tried to. They're going to try to trade for dudes that are like already. They don't want to they would take a prospect probably, but I think they're going to trade for guys that can go right into the big league lineup. I don't think they will. I think if you're going to trade Shane Bieber, you got to get someone that is in the big league lineup right away.
But I think
we talked.
I think the Marlins are kind of in the same situation too, where like they need to trade a pitcher for bats that are like ready to go too. I don't know. It's just tough.
Trig and I talked before the season. We were on the phone for an hour and a half talking about the Cardinals before the season ever started.
Yep.
And one of the things we kept talking about was here comes the trade deadline at some point.
Oh yeah, Cardinals.
They've got some great prospects, and they also got some good veteran bats on some contracts that are running out soon. And we knew they were going to need pitching. And here we go. It's lining up perfectly. Cardinals are hitting the ball again. Cardinals are playing better. They're heating up. And boom, they need a pitcher. So, I mean, I could see that going down, in a heartbeat too. And imagine the Cardinals, they don't have to give up so much with Shane Bieber.
Yeah. I just think the Orioles are going to be in play for a starter at the deadline.
Yep, they will. And the Orioles have some pieces as well. I agree with you there.
But I do agree in the sense
I know
that
all 3 of us are on the D-backs season win total over. All 3 of us on this show tonight. And we've got to get some relief pitching at the deadline, boys, real bad.
Relief pitching is the easiest to get, though, because you don't have to give up that much.
I'd love to see them get a Bednar from Pittsburgh or somebody like that, man. Just a real workhorse that can come in there and give us some solid innings.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
Somebody like that.
Pittsburgh's in contention. They're in contention. They're in contention to make the playoffs. So I don't know if they'll be sellers, especially when they get O'Neal Cruz back too. It's gonna be tough to see them being sellers at the deadline. But that
team's been a different team since he got hurt too. I know me and you haven't really touched on that, but me and Trig have talked about that, and I didn't think it was. I was wrong. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. Brian Reynolds.
Hey, y'all see the score right now? AK, you see the score right now? 10-6 against Seattle. In Seattle,
I wasn't expecting fireworks like that in that game. That's for sure.
It's the
total George Kirby and Keller both got lit up, man. My Lord.
Yeah, but Keller pitched in the 7th. He didn't get lit up until the 7th. He gave up a few runs. It is what it is. All right, I got some best bets for tomorrow. All right. First best bet, we're going over 8 Dodgers Tampa. I talked myself into it when we talked about it. I like it. The Rays 162 WRC plus 262 ISO against left-handed pitching. Kershaw hasn't been good on the road. Dodgers rake righties. Glass now coming back from injury. We don't know what we're going to get. I love that over 8. And then I'm also going O's money line. Max bet 2 units. Lay me up. Let's get this done. Getting blown out. I love backing good teams that get blown out because they're going to bounce back strong. Dean Kramer, 1.91 ERA in his last 4 starts. Andrew Heaney, 333 WOBA against right-handed hitters. And I'm telling you right now, the Orioles are going to lay out a heavy right-handed hitting lineup because they have a lot of switch hitters in their lineup. Anthony Santander, obviously future AL MVP Adley Rutschman as well. And Ryan Mountcastle can't hit righties, but that man rakes lefties. So I love the Orioles tomorrow in a huge bounce back spot. That team is they've proven themselves to be a great team. And so in this spot, I absolutely love them. And for losing their City Connect debut, they owe those fans something, dude. They owe them a lot. All right, Adam, we appreciate you coming on, man. Make sure to follow Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI on Twitter. My guy kills KBO, kills MLB. He also disrupted my Cinderella San Diego State Aztecs future, which I was in shambles about. But you and AK cash, so I'm happy for you both. But man, we appreciate you coming on, man. That was awesome. I'm glad we got to hang out and talk some baseball. We definitely got to do it again. For college basketball too, because that's how I met Aaron, was through college hoops. So that's my forte, dude. I love college hoops, bro. So thank you, Adam, for hanging out. Make sure to follow us. Make sure to follow Aaron at AK Sports 90. You can follow myself at Jordan Rules TSP on Twitter. Make sure to taproomsportspodcast.com. You can catch the podcast later if you weren't able to catch it all. Go to our YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Taproom Sports Podcast. Once we get enough subscribers, we'll have our own YouTube channel. Twitch.tv/Taproom Sports. Devour.com or download the Devour app. Use promo code TAPROOM for $10 off your first purchase of $20 or more. That's craft beer delivered straight to your front door. You don't even have to leave your seat. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Have a blessed Saturday. This KBO is about to get off, and I placed both those bets that Adam just gave us, so hopefully we cash these tickets, man. Let's get this money, baby. We love y'all. Have a great weekend. We out. Peace.